Hi, Bagel.
Hi, Moby.
Hi, Linz.
Hi, Mo.
And welcome to... Okay, I'm going to use a great word. Ready? Because I think it's a great word.
Okay.
Welcome to an eschatological episode of Moby Pod.
I'm trying to imagine what that might mean. Eschatological. As in lift?
Nope.
Like escalator?
No. I don't know the etymology because I don't know the prefix.
Moving stairs.
And I think at this point, we've already lost everybody.
Bye.
We have a very special episode of Moby Pod where we're talking about how to stay sane in the apocalypse. And first question, can there be multiple apocalypses? Because I think we're sort of getting hit by apocalypses on all fronts. It's like environmental, climate, pandemics, politics, end of democracy, the existential void that awaits us all. Like, it's just this sort of like big soup of apocalypses.
Yeah, I think there is danger at every corner. There are like the folly of mankind seems to be reaching some sort of pinnacle. I think it all feels like it's building, it's leading up to something.
Which leads
extra dangerous.
Back to my favorite word, eschatological.
Meaning?
The study of the end of times. At least I think it is. I get my fancy words confused. It also could mean like a South Korean tractor pull.
It's a branch of theology concerned with the last things, specifically focusing on beliefs about death and the end of the world and the ultimate destiny.
Also, I wasn't wrong.
You were not wrong.
Okay, I got that going for me.
Oh, also,
what?
Afterlife judgment and second coming.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to go there.
No. So before we dive into, one thing I would like to say is you, me, Bagel, we have our thoughts that are eschatological about how we're trying to stay sane in what seem like this deluge of apocalypses.
Yes.
But we also have asked everybody else their thoughts. So I made a social media post and I said, I think I'm not alone in trying to sort of stay sane during these apocalyptic times. And I asked people to call a free number and just tell me how they're trying to stay sane. Mm-hmm. On one hand, that was great. On the other hand, it's a little overwhelming because we received thousands upon thousands upon thousands of voicemails. Mm-hmm. And our good friends Erin, Stehler, and Jonathan Nesvadba have gone through all or almost all of them. And because there were thousands, like if we had an episode of the podcast where we were trying to go through, say, 5,000 voicemails on this show, the show would be 22 hours long.
Right.
So in the interest of not having a show that's 22 hours long, we've gone through and we've picked, I can't say the best, but we've just picked the ones that resonated with us quite a lot.
Yeah.
But to be super clear, thank you to everybody else who called in. And if we don't use your voicemail, nonetheless, thank you for taking the time to call and share. And we really appreciate it. And I feel profound guilt that we're not using everybody's voicemail.
But also profound gratitude because the people that engaged with MobyPod have been so lovely and so supportive. And when they reach out with advice or ideas or responses, like I love to see it. And this is another part of that, of people really participating in the podcast. So that was a really nice part of all of this. Our MobyPod family.
Yeah.
Should we talk about our respective top fives of what keeps us sane, and then we'll listen to our listeners' submissions?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So mine are all kind of obvious, but nonetheless, I really find great comfort in all of them.
Okay.
So first, it sounds a little bland, but it's not, is Friends. Rather fifth. We're leading up to number one. So this is my top five, we're leading up to number one.
Okay, great.
So Friends, you and I have a lot of the same friends. Mm-hmm. And in a world where there's so much anger and irrational hate and outright ignorance and pride of ignorance, I take phenomenal comfort in having friends who are smart and funny and rational and deeply kind. And also, for the most part, honest. Like it's sort of compared and contrasted to what's going on in the world. It's just so nice to remember that humans can be fantastic.
Yes. This is very, very.
So that's why number 5 for me is Friends. And if I start there, it's just uphill from there. Okay, that's 5.
My 5 is consuming entertainment. And by that, I mean movies, television, books, music, etc. Things that other people have made that I get to enjoy brings me a lot of joy. And I love going to the movies. I love going to the occasional concert. I love listening to music all the time whenever I can. And that brings me great comfort because it's inspiring, it's relaxing, it does all of the things that you want entertainment to do. So that's my 5.
So guess what? My number 4 is very similar to your number 5.
What is it?
My number 4, I described it as stories. Because obviously culture in general, but especially stories and fictionalized worlds. Which can be 30 Rock. It can be some of my favorite book series. It can even be biographies about people. Like it's stepping in to a world that is not my world. And because more often than not, those worlds they're interesting and they're safe and they're special. And so I love other people's stories. Like during the fires, I gave myself a great luxury because I didn't know if I was going to burn down at night, was I rewatched Lord of the Rings. So every night for 3 hours, I could leave the world of Los Angeles, which now as I think about it, was kind of like Mordor, on fire, evil, etc. But maybe Los Angeles wasn't evil, it's just on fire. So other people's created or lived stories, there's something so comforting about being able to step into them.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Oh, you were like, I know who can help me. Samwise.
Gandalf.
Yeah. That's very, very cute. My number 4 is self-care. And by that, I find great comfort in knowing I can take care of myself.
Wow.
Like
Good
exercise, nutrition, meditation, going to the energy healer, getting a massage, going to therapy, like these things, knowing I can take care of myself and being putting effort into it, I find to really, really help me like stay focused on something that like is very important to me.
Wow, that's a great one. So 3 is probably my most obvious one, which is music.
Okay.
And I'm going to say specifically working on music. Like I love listening to music and I get great comfort from listening to music, but making music, which to me, it's interesting because technically it's my job. So really what I've just described is like someone saying going to work is their way of staying sane and finding comfort. But for me, making music, it stopped being a job a long time ago. It's just what I love. And going into my little studio, especially at night, working on music, like it's such a safe, magical, controlled environment. And also you never know what you're going to make. Like sometimes you end up with something wonderful, sometimes you end up with nothing. But just being in my studio, working on music with the understanding that really what I'm doing is just pushing air molecules around my room, but somehow it has so much meaning. So yeah.
You do it every night, right?
I work on music I'd say, I work on music every day. Some days it's not, Bagel, you got an itchy nose. Some days it's going into my studio. Other times it's reviewing music, editing music, mixing music. But it's going into my studio and writing music is such a phenomenal joy and comfort for me.
That's really cute.
So number 3, what's yours?
Mine is similar. It's work, which luckily for me is creativity and activism. Like that, I'm lucky enough for that to be my job that I wake up and do every day. So, and that keeps me very sane. It keeps me very sane knowing that I get to support creative voices. It makes me very sane knowing that I get to like potentially do things that help animals and that I get to kind of like help to keep a train on course that I really care about. It's like, it's a very stabilizing thing to like stay focused on.
That's great. So number 2 for me is animals. And what's especially sort of interesting and powerful about staying sane through animals, one is experiencing animals, experiencing Bagel, and experiencing the lizards on my property, experiencing birds, experiencing just the wildlife that we see in Los Angeles, or going to a sanctuary like Farm Sanctuary or Gentle Barn and experiencing rescued animals and looking into their eyes is so profound. But also because nothing in my life is more important to me than working on behalf of animal rights. So remembering that. So like if things are super dark and terrible in the outside world, I'm like, okay, there's no time for self-pity because my job is to try and help animals.
Right. Mine is friends, my friends and my community. It's very important to me and keeps me very sane, stable, grounded, entertained, makes me feel safe and comforted, and also infuses a sense of like fun because my friends are all really fun and funny and silly. And so that to me is a very, very grounding thing are my people.
Yeah. I mean, I've met most of your friends and I agree they are all of those things.
They really are.
Okay, so here we are, number 1.
Okay, number 1.
If Jonathan is editing this, maybe a quick little drum roll. Type drum. Okay, I guess the drum roll has been added. So number 1 for me is nature. But all that involves, because to me that is like, when someone says nature, they might think like, oh, a meadow. Sure, a meadow's nice. But to me, it's basically an ancient system that is so complicated and remarkable beyond anything I'll ever understand. Like it's like, I know I sound like a hippie, but like any question, nature can answer it. If you're like, oh, I'm afraid of getting old and dying, it's like walk through a forest and you recognize without trees getting old and dying, there'd be no new trees. There's no death in nature. It's just a cycle. Without death, nothing would live. Without decay, nothing would live. And understanding the complexity of it and the systems, like, it leads me to think about when the fires happened, I went up to Altadena and took pictures. And I think I talked about this before, but I'll say it again. First of all, it's horrifying seeing like block after block after block burned to the ground. Did we talk about the 2 things that I saw that survived?
Yes.
Trees and grapefruits. And the trees are all doing fine. They're all starting to come back. It's spring. They're all pushing out new growths. Most of them didn't burn down. And like that strength and that resilience, like we can't even conceive of that.
How alive nature is, how it survives, how it to quote Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, it finds a way.
Yeah, like the vines that upend sidewalks.
Yeah.
The complexity of nature, the beauty of nature, and also one of the most remarkable things about living in Los Angeles is how we have immediate access to nature. Granted, not everywhere, but we have, the statistic I like to quote is New York has a lot of parks. It has approximately 250,000 acres of parkland. LA County has 10 million acres of parkland.
Wow.
There's so much nature, and one of the most remarkable things about it, so much of it is ancient. Like you can go for a hike in almost any park in Los Angeles, or even and you see rocks that are 10 million years old. You see just so much evidence that like humanity is a blip, and that nature's been around for billions and billions and billions of years, and like the stuff we're going through has consequence, but compared to nature, it's a blip.
And that's just what's going through your brain when you're out there.
It's being amazed by it. and also aware of, existentially, I think one of the, if not the defining quality of the human condition is our separation from the natural world, from the universe. And I don't mean in a cliched hippie way. I mean, literally, we don't understand the systems of the natural world.
Yeah, well, also, like anything that we would have come into this world having instinctually, I think over time gets degraded and degraded and degraded till it's nothing. And then we just continue to pass down that degraded sense of instinct over and over and over again.
And the fact that the strangest paradox of humanity is there's not a single part of us that's less than 12 billion years old. We have no memory of it.
Yeah.
There's not a single molecule or atom or quanta in any individual that is less than 15 or 12 billion years old. Everything was there at the Big Bang. But we define ourselves as being 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old. It's just ironic. It's like a mountain defining itself as being 10 years old.
Yeah.
When it's been there for 100 million years.
Yeah.
So that's my number one, nature.
My number one has only been my number one for 5 years.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
And 3 months.
Bagel, she's talking about you.
And it's Bagel.
As it should be.
And, well, it's just because she's the most special thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But also because we get to go on so many fun adventures. We get to go on beach walks.
Laughing because you're holding her head and she's staring at me like, yeah, okay.
We get to go on beach walks and hikes, and we get to go watch movies. She goes to dinner with me all the time. She's like my little buddy. We fly on airplanes. We go visit family. We go to work meetings. She comes to sets. She's the star. And I feel very lucky that I got to have a dog like this in my life. So she's my number one thing that keeps me very sane, where I can wake up in the morning and immediately go, hey, there's something adorable that I love right here, and go to sleep being like, hey, there's something adorable right here. So Bagel's the number one. And
also I know, again, this is going to sound like hippie nonsense, but she's like an enlightened being.
Yeah.
When she's happy, she's happy. When she's sad, she's sad. When she's angry. When, like, sometimes it's irrational, like she gets angry at friendly dogs. But she has it's this complete, immediate, authentic existence.
It's very, very pure.
Yeah.
Bagel is purely her.
Yeah. So I'm if I could have a second number one, it would be her as well.
Yeah.
Should we play the voicemails?
Yeah, Erin, let's do this. Let's listen to a couple.
Hi, this is lovely. Thank you for this. Well, I'm from Puerto Rico, so we're in a very delicate position because we didn't get to vote for this apocalyptic crazy person, but we're owned by these people. So we can't really protest because we don't want to get shut out. But at the same time, it uplifts me every time I see all the people coming together to protest the racism and everything that's just going on upside down right now. But to answer the question, what do I do to stay sane, other than try to focus on the positive news of this has had to happen for everyone, I guess, to come together against a common enemy, is I spend a lot of my time with my 3 cats. I'm a cat lady, a proud cat lady. So that's it. That and work in advertising, which sucks, but the cats are home waiting for me. Thank you for this. It's lovely.
Wow, so wonderful. So a cat lady who finds sanity through her cats, which I think we can completely relate to because you find sanity through Bagel, as do I. And also through protest. And it's interesting because our next episode is with Chris Cluey. And he is such a remarkable political activist right now. And the nature of protest, and we talk about this with Chris Cluey, is it's both essential, but it's also galvanizing. The way in which it brings people together. Because someone could say, like, yeah, the powers that be are not paying attention to these protests. But the people who are paying attention are the people at the protests, and it galvanizes them and it motivates them to stay in touch and to stay active and to, indulge in the old important cliche of speaking truth to power.
100%. I actually have to say, one of the few shows that I can watch is Rachel Maddow. I love Rachel. I'm an avid Rachel watcher. I love her. She showed the other day, she was like, my team gets annoyed because you do a 2-block where you show two, I think it's 2-block, where you show 2 videos side by side. And she was like, my team gets annoyed when I want them to create an 8 video side by side, which you often need. She was like, well, they were really annoyed this week because I had them make a 20 video side by side because there were so many protests all across the country that we had to create a new way of showing clips of all of them at the same time because people are coming together so much right now and speaking that truth to power and showing up and in these huge numbers. The way they're showing up for Bernie and AOC right now is like many, many, many thousands of people packing all of these like arenas and outdoor areas. And I will agree with that listener that it really does help me stay sane knowing that people are coming together and to be a part of that myself,
So let's listen to the next one.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Moby. My name is Italia, and I live in Los Angeles. I actually have seen you at some of the pig vigils many years ago. I just wanted to leave a message to tell you that, first of all, thank you. You're like the hero to all vegans. And I am staying sane by just throwing myself so deeply into dog rescue. I actually have been doing dog rescue for about 20 years, and I joined the board of the main foundation that I work with this year, and the more terrible things that go on, the more I just try to invest more time with the dogs, from doing transport to doing fundraisers, lots of adoption events. And I have 7 dogs of my own. I have the least dogs of anyone in the foundation. And yeah, just like giving all I can to dog rescue. And sometimes I just hold my dogs close to my chest and just try to infuse them with love because we're all feeling so bereft these days. It's really kind of impossible to believe all of this can actually happen in America. So thank you so much for setting up this hotline. It actually really, I'm sure, meant a lot to a lot of people. Our foundation is called the Forgotten Dog Foundation. We're mainly on the west side, and we do a lot of adoption events. And we have an Instagram and a great website, the Forgotten Dog Foundation. Thank you, and good luck with your podcast. Bye.
So, I'm getting a sense, Linz.
What's that?
That asking people to call in was a good idea. Because so far we've listened to, we've all listened to many, but so far publicly here, we've listened to 2, and they're so inspiring.
They really are. I'm like, I should have 7 dogs.
And that reminds me, because the world of animal rescue, there's some activists who are like, well, there are 1 trillion animals being killed every year. We need to focus on that, which I agree with. I agree with that. But also, there's that old expression, I forget who said it first, of like rescuing an individual animal might not do much to save the other 1 trillion animals, but boy, does it do a lot for that one animal. Mm-hmm. And it's like and it's just a reminder, each animal is an individual, whether a horse, a cow, a pig, a dog, a lamb, a frog, a lizard, like every animal is an individual, which is like the core of my animal rights. My belief that as every animal is an individual, it's simply our right and duty to respect their lives as individuals.
Yeah, and do everything you can for them. I mean, in addition to not eating them, which I think would be the best way to save a lot of animals, doing what you can, whether it's working at a rescue or working at a kennel, a shelter, whatever, because every shelter is understaffed. I know that for sure. Any weekend, any minute, any spare minute that you can do something, it's so meaningful for those animals.
Okay, next.
Hey, my name's Jill, and I am staying sane, and I'll tell you how. I'm avoiding overgeneralization. it's not totally bonkers. It's not apocalyptic. It's not totally insane. Our federal government's been taken over by some incompetent fascists. So you focus on the incompetence. You focus on state governments, which are doing a lot to keep their people safe. You focus on that this will end and that the cracks are already appearing. The other is, the usual, therapy, friends. But honestly, I'm forgetting the most important thing, which is to take action. If you're sitting around thinking and worrying, oh my God, don't do that. But if you take action, so I just attended an Indivisible meeting yesterday. We're going to work on ways to help not only nationally but locally. I attended a town hall for our new rep, Emily Randall, here in Port Angeles, Washington. I'm postcarding about the special elections in Florida. If we can get Dems into the House, then it will help things. Take action. And know that even if it doesn't work out, there's always another action you can take. Protests are also good because around here especially, you go to a protest and you meet some really neat people and you read funny signs. And speaking of humor is really important too. Lately I've been thinking about how I felt during the George W. Bush years when we were all convinced he was going to put us in concentration camps. It's hilarious to think how worried we were back then compared to now. So I try to get laughs. I read Boing Boing, and that's how I heard about this project of yours. And I'm glad you're doing it. So thank you for listening. Have a good one.
I love her. I love her. I love her. I love that she said infusing a sense of humor. You get that from everything that she said, that she approaches everything with a sense of humor. And that really is a great way to stay sane.
I just, hearing these messages so far just reminds me the inspiration of feminine strength is remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I am a health educator through a big enzyme company in the U.S. And I'm teaching health. Health is my activism. That's how I'm staying sane. That is my activism. Also, I'm keeping my apartment really clean. Love you.
Anything you want to say about cleanliness next to godliness?
So if we're going to make our lists of how we're staying sane, in my list of ways I'm staying sane, I have honorable mentions. Mm-hmm. On the honorable mention list is cleaning. Boy, do I love a good cleaning. On weekends, when most people go out and have fun, I clean. And presumptuously, I think I'm really good at it. Because I used to, when I was growing up, help my mom clean houses. Mm-hmm. And so I've just been cleaning my house, cleaning apartments, cleaning restaurants since I was in single digits. And yeah, I'm really good at it.
And it brings you joy.
And because you get to focus on a task. There's only one task. You know how to do it, and you immediately see the fruits of your efforts, and you've restored order to chaos. Mm-hmm. So that one really resonated with me. Okay. They've all resonated with me, but that one, cleaning, I give that. I can't help but notice you are remaining quiet.
I don't have anything to say about that. I like to have clean clothes.
Yeah. Bagel loves clean clothes.
Bagel loves clean clothes. I wash clothes all the time.
She's like a kitty cat playing in the clean clothes pile. Mm-hmm.
And I like to have clean dishes, Oh. But, little pirates. Cleaning's not for me. I like to have other people do it for me because I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Maggie. Just thought I'd give you a call and answer your question. I'm doing a lot of meditating to try and stay sane. I'm spending as much time outside as I possibly can, enjoying nature. We all have the right to enjoy green spaces, all of us, regardless of wealth or status. We all deserve to have our basic needs met. they all deserve love and dignity and respect. Another way that I'm staying sane is by volunteering regularly at Lancaster Farm Sanctuary, which is a nonprofit very dear and near to my heart, near and dear to my heart. And the animals there are just, they definitely keep my mind quiet, keep me focused, make me feel like I'm doing something to help others. And then I guess the last thing I do is just try to be of service to my community as much as I can. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Sorry for such a long message. Thank you. Bye.
I love her.
I know.
I want to hug her so hard.
So Lynn's, so her message was also super inspiring. And
can I also just say, in the face of extreme stress, I think that it shows so much strength to say, I'm stressed. The world feels unmanageable. I'm going to go out and help other people like her. To say I am in a panic. I know what I'll do. I'm going to go volunteer at a local sanctuary or shelter, or show up for my community. I think the ability to channel fear into kindness and support for the people and the creatures around you is so powerful. And I love her for that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but that was one of the strangest lessons I learned in sobriety, is that I thought the key to happiness was selfishness. Mm-hmm. And I read this book, or maybe it was maybe in one of my conversations with the Dalai Lama, some good name dropping. He said the key to happiness is service. And I was so annoyed by that because I was like, no, I want the key to happiness to be selfishness. Mm-hmm. But it turns out he was right. Selfishness paradoxically leads to misery. Mm-hmm. Whereas service, whatever that form that might take, that's where happiness and well-being comes from.
Yeah. And to be able to say, instead of trying to fix my problems, my inner turmoil with, a substance or anger or violence or whatever.
Or doom scrolling.
Or taking it out on someone, somewhere, something, trolling, to go out into the world and help someone or something that's suffering. That's the best thing ever.
Yep.
Hi, Moby. Thank you for being in my life since the mid-1990s. To stay sane in all of this, I started volunteering at a cat shelter. And it's wonderful because the cats in there come in and are given a chance to grow and get courage. They're allowed to run around in this really fun room and socialize or hide if they need to, but learn from other cats and then get adopted. And so it really relieves my mind and soul when I go in there and get to spend time with the animals and then help people find a cat that suits their life. Thank you again. Bye.
Well, that reminded me of one of the other remarkable benefits of spending time with animals, but also with Bagel, is they don't get their information from screens. Mm-hmm. They don't know what's happening 3,000 miles away. They know how their family is doing, how their friends are doing. Like, they're just focused on truth.
Yep.
The truth of how they're feeling, how the world around them immediately is feeling. Like, I sometimes look at animals and for the most part, how fascinating. They don't own anything.
Yeah. Bagel has no belongings other than her couple of toys.
Yeah. And
a giant duck.
Yeah. And a few scrunchies, but walk through Griffith Park and you see the coyotes, the lizards, the bobcats. It's just so fascinating that 99.9999999% of the creatures who've ever lived on this planet have never owned anything, have never worn clothing, have never argued about possessions. Mm-hmm. And it's just so odd that as humans, we define ourselves through our possessions, through our ownership. We suffer and struggle to make money so that we can buy inanimate things. And I'm sounding like a hippie, but it's just so odd. Nothing wrong with some inanimate things, but it's just so interesting when you compare us to every other creature on the planet who go through life, for the most part, never owning anything or fetishizing possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Some exceptions. Crows seem to like shiny things, but
That about so relatable.
that the honesty of animals as well. When you're with animals, even if they're indifferent to you, if they don't like you, they're being honest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, and if they're being duplicitous, it's in the interest of being funny. Like when Bagel pretends to be angry, it's the cutest thing in the world because she's the happiest person on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. What makes them pure and innocent is also what makes them vulnerable. And so when I hear about people finding grounding and helping our vulnerable creatures, it's like a warm bath.
Yep.
Hey guys, this is Schrock. I'm just calling to tell you how I stay sane in this trying time, and that is by doubling down on my engagement with youth, the youngins of our country. They're the only ones that can get us out of this at this point. So I coach a robotics team, but I'm doing everything I can to, make their lives easier and just give them all the time they need because, well, we didn't solve anything. Hopefully they'll do it for us. Have a great time, guys.
Coaching the robotics team?
That is so cool.
How do you, I assume that means building robots.
I'm imagining robots fighting each other, but I also don't know what robotics teams do. Is that what they do, Erin? They are just...
Or they have a specific task that they have.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the robots either have tasks or they fight each other, which...
But still, they're building robots.
They're building robots.
That's like... I can't even make sense of that. Like, I barely know how to, close a door, let alone... How do people know how to build robots? Okay. People know how to do all sorts of things.
I mean, some people were probably
just,
also like, how do you play classical guitar? Which, people learn things.
But that amazes me. So Schrock leading kids on building robots. But what happens, if in the future the robots turn against us?
Then those kids that he's coaching are going to save us.
Okay, you're right.
Yep.
Amazing. That was not what I was expecting. That was really cool.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing to think because sometimes I forget about children because I don't have children. And I'm like, oh yeah, kids need stuff. Like my sister and our friend Julie, they both have a kid that they take on as a mentee that they help with random stuff. That's an amazing way to give back too. Help a kid, help a few kids.
And speaking of kids, there was an article I read recently, I think, oddly enough, in Esquire, part of my Apple News feed. It was an article talking to young men about their concerns around politics and culture. And I was expecting, honestly, I hate to say it, stupidity. I was expecting just all sorts of sloganeering. It was very thoughtful. And it kind of gave me hope in a way to realize these young guys, 18, 19, 20, 23, 24, what have you, were very thoughtful and very their concerns were justified. Their concern, and it really changed my ignorance and attitude towards especially young men.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of hope there. Gen Z doesn't always get the politics right. Sorry, Erin.
Not you.
But also I see this kind of this new era of really, really smart, really, really outspoken, really, really gentle men. It's cool to see.
And sometimes my hope is maybe in this last election, you had a lot of people voting for the first time, and maybe they were just, I don't know, who knows? Maybe they weren't taking that seriously. Maybe they'd listened to a Joe Rogan podcast and they were voting according to that.
Or they thought it was funny.
Yeah, and they thought it was funny. They invest in crypto or whatever, and they think it's going to help their investments. But maybe a lot of people, especially in these last few months, have woken up to the fact that elections have consequences. Mm-hmm. And elections have severe, terrible consequences sometimes. So my hope is maybe a lot of these people who voted for the bad guy might have recognized that a frivolous vote for the wrong person can have terrible consequences.
I hope that's true.
Well, hello there, Moby and Lindsay. Did I get that right? Anyway, Moby, your message today on my Instagram feed was a nice, friendly break from doing my best to stay informed on the happenings in the world. What am I doing to stay sane? Gosh, I'm sure you hear this a lot, but getting outside as much as I can. I live currently in Florida, and the wild parrots have come back from the south, and in my yard in the morning, I get to hear the wild parrots flitting around and squawking. I also get to hear ospreys as they begin to head out to go fishing in the morning and in the evening. Both of those are a huge highlight. I like to walk down to my little neighborhood shopping area, and even seeing people sitting out on a patio enjoying a meal together and laughing reminds me that connection and community are super important. I have a few friends that we get to talk about the insanity of what's happening, and I live in a state, of course, where many people are in support of the current administration, so having the safety of being able to talk to a handful of folks about the things that are weighing on my heart and what I'm concerned about is also keeping me sane, and ever and always music, and dancing in the living room. So thanks a lot for asking, because it helped me remember the things that are available to me. I hope you're staying safe and connected, and really appreciate you caring.
I love women.
I know.
Also, something I liked about her note was that even walking by two people having a lively conversation makes her happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something really sweet about that, of just like seeing joy around you and other people, even if you're not actively a part of it, being something inspiring and keeping you sane. I think that's really sweet too.
Hi, this is Moises Franco. I just watched your short video about how to stay sane during this horrible apocalypse and horrible times. Just three things: family, friends, and music. Those are the things that are keeping me alive. And those are the things that allow me to go outside, find a stranger on the street, and put a big, big smile, you know. Sometimes I get one back, and it feels great. There's still some humanity out there. And I hope we get through this thing like we've done so many other times. So thank you for letting me express how I try to stay sane. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes it doesn't. This is one of those days where it doesn't really work very well, but I gotta keep on doing it, keep trying. Thank you so very much. And I hope you try to stay sane as well. Your music helps me a lot. Thank you.
So earlier, I was talking about how female strength is so inspiring. I'm reminded, listening to some of these messages from men, that men can be super great too.
And freaking adorable. And also, he brings up a great point of like, you also have to know that no matter how much you try to stay sane, sometimes you're going to be a little crazy.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Like a good friend of ours the other day was dealing with all sorts of stress. So her way of staying sane, sit down, eat half a bag of vegan chocolate chips. You know what? God bless. Sometimes it's meditation. Sometimes it's service. Sometimes it's community. Sometimes it's sit in the corner, listen to music, and eat a bag of vegan chocolate chips.
Like, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, then whatever it takes to cope.
I think it's important to have that bag of vegan chocolate chips, perhaps even like under glass with
hammer. Exactly.
Like
teensy tiny hammer.
Yeah.
This is so kind of you to do this. This helps me feel sane-ish, sane adjacent. I live in New York City in a small apartment with college-age boys who are struggling with their mental health. So we get out and we walk. We try to put screens away, and it's kind of hard to find trees. in New York, but we find them and we spend time in the parks, and we go walk by the Hudson River, go over to the East River, wherever we can. We live in Manhattan, and just try to get some space and get away from all the noise. Now the city noise has become comforting compared to the noise on social media and on the news, and even the written word starts to feel aggressive. I can barely get through the New York Times. I can barely do it. I just read headlines and skim. So I hope, I look forward to tuning in and hearing other people's strategies. There's nothing like a tree. Just go hug a tree. I literally have become a tree hugger. That's how I'm staying sane. Thank you. My name's Jenny. Bye.
Jenny.
Amazing. Because I go in, I hike constantly.
You hugging those trees?
I have on occasion, but I see lots of, there's this fascinating thing. There are a lot of people from Korea in Los Angeles. The majority of people I've seen in the park hugging trees are elderly Korean men. And it is so sweet. Right. And they're just stand there and hug the tree.
Perfect.
So her message, two things. One, her voice, I feel like she should be like an NPR DJ.
Absolutely.
Like everyone we've heard has a great voice, but something about her voice felt very rich and
soothing.
Yeah. Like I want her to replace Terry. Nothing wrong with Terry Gross, but like if Terry Gross retires, she should be the next Terry Gross.
Couldn't agree more.
Also, listening to these messages reminded me of something I learned a long time ago, but I sometimes forget. And it was a profoundly important lesson to me, is when the album Play was doing well, there were weeks when it was selling over 100,000 copies a week. And everybody I spoke to, managers, record label people, press, it was always about like the numbers. Like, oh, you sold 30,000 tickets, you sold 100,000 records, you sold 1 million records, like all this quantifying of people. And at one point, I had this little thought. I was like, oh, and it's a very self-evident thought, but we forget about it. Each person is an individual. And so, for example, going through social media, people can be like, oh, I only got 50 likes. I only got 100 likes. Or if you're Taylor Swift, I only got 400 million likes. Each one of those likes is an individual, wrestling with humanity, wrestling with fear and insecurity and joy and struggles. Like you have to remember numbers aren't real. Mm-hmm. Like there's no such thing in the universe as a number. Numbers are great for understanding things, but they represent individuals.
Yeah.
So hearing each of these voices, because normally in the world of media, people show up as a number.
Yeah. And this is you getting to like hear the voice, hear a glimpse into the life of people that you've been interacting with on a screen for, it's really—
And just remembering, and another thing that I had to remember a while ago, there is no hierarchy of individuals. To me, that applies to animals as well. But with humanity, there's no such thing as a better person or a worse person.
Completely.
It's just, there are people who do bad things. There are people who do really damaging things. But it's so dangerous when you start creating any sort of hierarchy of individuals. Mm-hmm. Just remembering everybody is an individual. They occupy their own unique place.
Yeah.
So two things that I do. One is I tune my mind-body connection by hitting the gym really hard. I also meditate when I can. It's harder these days, as you know, because the world is noisy. But usually some sort of a physical activity, like hitting the gym. And also, I do get my dance on once a month or twice a month, all night long. I'm 59 years old. That's one of the key proponents to staying sane. Second is that I stay mindful, trying to understand, trying to see that all what we perceive is just an illusion. So by staying above the illusion, meaning not take anything that you see personally or even judge. The problem with judgment is that it doesn't matter what the context is. The moment you judge it as wrong or right or real or false, it becomes that reality. So I just I believe the road to the promised land is the way of love, and I keep holding the torch for hope and love, and as long as I work that out internally, I think everything will be okay. Thank you.
Wow, there was a lot there.
You got to hit the gym and you got to get your dance on.
I loved that, but also like, yeah, it was like, it's fascinating. Like if I take a step back from his message, it's the very physical, the gym and dancing, but then the very metaphysical of like recognizing that we live in a world of illusions and holding on to love and hope. Like what a fascinating combination, and also really healthy combination of ways of staying sane.
I think so too. And I completely agree. You have to keep your body strong. You have to have fun, and you have to maintain the brain.
Mm-hmm.
In the Apocalypse, which is a lyric from the song.
The song we're going to play at the end.
Yeah.
Hi, Moby. My name is Noelle, and I'm calling from Ohio. First, I wanted to tell you that your music has been very influential to my whole family, myself, my husband, and my 3 children. And when my dad had passed away, we drove cross country after sitting with him and listened to your album in the car, and a bunch of amazing things actually happened. So that was significant. Things that I do daily to help. Every morning I do a reading and I journal and I center myself in a space and a state that is open and not overwhelmed before I greet the day. And I limit the amount of media and intrusive messages I let in so that I can kind of be a barometer and a light from inside myself to others. So that's what I do in these odd and bizarre and trying times. Thank you for doing this. Okay, blessings. Bye.
So that was inspiring and great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's especially, 2 aspects of it. One is almost like the as esoteric as it might sound, like the spiritual self-protection. Mm-hmm. Like starting your day rather than immediately jumping into like looking at a screen, which I sometimes do. I think you do as well. Mm-hmm. And one thing she said that I'm going to add to my honorable mention list of things to say stay sane is reading inspiring things from the past. And for me, that can be the Tao Te Ching. It can be Sufi poetry. Almost every spiritual tradition has some literature that I can personally find really inspiring.
No, I completely agree. I think that requires so much awareness of like, how am I doing? That self-awareness of that self-check-in, and always like doing that work to stay on top of your own. Because I think it's very easy to dip without that self-awareness and start doing things and doing things that are harmful to you.
Or doing less of it or less frequently. Because I still do, like, I'm very guilty. I'll doom scroll, like if I'm like grabbing the phone and reading the headlines for the 11th time in a day. It's not necessarily healthy, but it's hard to resist that temptation.
Well, yeah, we're all little cavemen sitting by a tiny fire in a cave, and there's a bear, and the bear is the news. And the stick is the snake, and yeah.
Yeah, the figurative bear is the news.
Yeah.
The real bear is still a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, my name is Carrie. I'm calling from Minnesota. How do I stay sane? I don't know. Well, living in Minnesota helps. We have Governor Tim Walz, who is amazing, and I love all things about him for the most part. How am I staying sane? I try to take a detox from news sources for like 24 hours once a week. Otherwise, it's just too hard. It's just too much. I color on my iPad, a color by number app, because that helps. But honestly, the biggest thing that has helped is taking 24 hours and it's hard because I feel guilty for not paying attention every day to all the things. But I found that's a really easy way for me to become so just depressed. And I won't want to get out of bed. And I'm a parent, and I'm a school nurse, and I'm a wife, and I'm a mom. I'm a mom, and I still have to go to work and do all the things and study for the classes I'm taking, and I still have to be able to function. So I think I take that one day a week and just do anything but look at news sites or listen to news sites. If my husband's listening to something or if my kids are talking about it, I kind of have to just leave the room because I'm just too overwhelmed with all the horrible. Anyways, so have a good day. I hope you all are doing well and staying sane. Take care. Bye.
Linz,
No.
have you ever done a news fast? Like a digital detox?
I have.
Because I've done it a few times, and it's interesting because at first it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like giving up, for me, it's like, my Apple News feed with, The Guardian and the New York Times and the Washington Post and the LA Times and the San Francisco Chronicle and the Wall Street Journal and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I try to read everything. And I gave it up after the election. I was like, that's it. So I took 2 weeks without any exposure to news. And it is pretty, so I like being informed, but boy, doing a digital detox news fast is healthy and liberating.
I love that. Her 24 hours. I try to on the weekends not read any news.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes up on social media, sure. But the only news program that I watch anymore is Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I won't watch anything else, and I don't read any of the other because I just can't. It's the only one I can handle, and I get to watch it 2 times a week, and that's my big moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You sit down and watch your program.
Yeah, my program with my girl Rach.
Also, Minnesota.
Shout out to Minnesota in the house.
So Erin Stehler, who's here, she's from Minnesota. Mark, who's directing the movie Tessie, is from Minnesota. Chris Cluey played in Minnesota. I spent summers in Minnesota because a lot of my family's from Minnesota, like this recurring Minnesota thing. And yes, Tim Waltz is amazing. I just, in hindsight, wish he hadn't been so decent on the campaign trail. Like the debate with JD Vance where he was sort of like being too polite and nice. I know it's Minnesota, you're supposed to be nice, but it's JD Vance.
He was a good listener to a nightmare, but also it's just because he's such an innately good person. He couldn't help but be good.
I wish he'd brought a little more. Maybe that's unevolved of me, but when he was being so nice to JD Vance, I was like, you're being nice to Hitler Light, essentially.
He should have had Jasmine Crockett write a couple sick burns to throw in there.
Hey, I'm making art. Bye.
Making art, great.
Making art, yes, make art.
And I also appreciate that she didn't have time to leave a long message. I love long messages, but she's so busy being sane and making art. She's like, I'm going to leave a message and I'm going to go right back to being sane and making art.
Brevity, soul of wit.
Yep.
She got it. Love her.
There's actually an artist named Saul DeWitt. I wonder if people ever made puns about his name.
I hope they did.
Soul of Wit, Soul. Okay, yeah. Maybe his nickname should have been Brevity.
You're right.
That'd be
the same thing.
Yeah.
Moby, Lindsay, hi. Much love from Scotland in the UK. The world at this point in time seems upside down, and there's more craziness going on than what I have ever experienced. The way that I try to deal with it and escape it is paint. I paint. I get all my frustrations out on the canvas using my acrylics and oils, and I just paint and paint and paint. It's the only way that I've been able to maintain my sanity. So I'd encourage everyone to get some canvas, get some brushes, get some paint, and take your frustrations out on the canvas. You'll be surprised at what you can create. Okay? Take care, you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So 2 things.
I'm literally weeping.
2 things. One, how remarkable that people are finding sanity and well-being through painting and through art. That is great. Maybe I have 3 things.
Okay.
Second thing is there's no better accent in the world than a Scottish accent.
It's the best accent ever created.
I've never... A Kiwi accent might be a second. I do love
a very good one.
But like a Scottish accent
it's so melodic. It's so comforting. There's something, it says, we're going to have a great time, but also you're going to wake up feeling really good about yourself tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to go for a hike over mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I'm wearing a skirt. You're wearing a skirt, and we're all wearing skirts.
So, yeah, those two things. Was there a third thing? Oh, yes. To people who paint and to people who work with acrylics, oils, turpentine, everything, ventilate your studios. Because I grew up with a bunch of painters, and unventilated studios can cause all sorts of health problems. So a little public service announcement from me, Moby, about the dangers. Painting is great, but just make sure it's in a well-ventilated space.
Hi, Moby. This is Renee. You don't know me, but I know you and your music quite well. I have been trying to stay sane from my personal and universal apocalypses for a long time. How I keep surviving is a mystery. I cannot define how precisely. However, what I do to stay sane is dance, and I make people dance. And you know what? I make them dance sometimes to your music. And what I love is the look in my 70 or 80-year-old tango partner. When we finish dancing to Victoria Lucas, he or she asks me, wow, that was a wonderful song. Who and what is that music? I try to keep my community stay sane by using the tools we create with art. Like Picasso once said, to help us dust the reality of life. Hope you stay sane forever, man. Many hugs. Bye.
Do you think, okay, I don't want to offend anyone. I think he said tango, correct?
Yes.
So my assumption might be that he's Argentinian.
Perhaps.
And you know that like the majority of my relatives, my living relatives are Argentinian. And
you have
Argentinian and Jewish. And I had I didn't know that you could dance the tango to my music. Amazing.
I'm now I got to see this. I need that video.
I think this is the last one.
I think so.
Hey friends, my name is Eric. Moby, I met you probably back in maybe 2000 in Cincinnati, Ohio. I used to work for WOXY, which was a nice last bastion independent radio station. I was promotions manager, and I took you and some contest winners record shopping. So thank you for that. Staying sane. So I live west of Madison, Wisconsin. Last year, about a year ago in May, there was a school shooting in my town. I have 3 kids. There was only one fatality, that being the shooter. But one of my kids had to flee the school and run to safety. So for me, that was a super stark reminder of what I have and what I stand to lose. And I also learned that in traumatic experiences, you need to face them, you need to talk about it, you need to write about it, you need to keep it close. And I do that with my kids as well. So my thoughts are make music about it, write about it. If you are a person of influence, build up your community, maybe enable those without voices to have more of a voice. I do really love what Fred again did during the pandemic, where he collected, straight up iPhone videos of people talking, people singing, chopped that up into his music and built up a community, when, obviously dancing at clubs was certainly deeply impacted. So I thought that was super great. I still have my Roland 303 Groove box, which I, at the time of purchasing it, thought it would make me famous, but now it's just a fun little toy that I play around with and share music in my local community at open mics and whatnot. So thanks for listening. Be well.
I kind of want him to run for office. It just seems so grounded and smart and healthy. And also, I think it would be kind of amazing to have a politician who on the campaign trail was playing with a Roland 303.
What is the Roland 3?
So the original 303 was supposed to be, it played bass lines. And you're supposed to be able to program these little bass lines, and they're very awkward. But then the acid house producers realized if you tweak the tones, you can make the craziest bass lines you've ever heard. Like, you know those songs where it goes like wow,
yeah.
That's what the original 303 did.
Oh.
And it did it better than anything. It's sort of acid house was based around the 303.
Interesting.
And I used to have 2 of them, and unfortunately I have none. So thank you. And so this man, thank you for reminding me of 303s, and I hope he runs for office and plays the 303 on the campaign trail.
I also hope so. Okay, I guess that was the last of the messages. I have to say thank you to everybody who submitted. Thank you to everyone who allowed us to air their thoughts on the show. And it makes me feel this like sense of great community, like we're all in it together. And I'm really grateful we got to do that.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to love this process as much as I have.
It's really, really fun, right? To hear what people are actually doing and what they're adding to their day-to-day life. Yeah. I'm like, I got to get my paints out.
And being reminded, like it's an epiphany I had once. The second time I did Coachella, I might have told this story before. I was driving from LA to Palm Springs on the 10 during traffic, and it was ugly. You know, traffic, hot, just the worst. But then I realized everyone was experiencing the same thing. Like, it's not like I was experiencing traffic and all these people were at fault. Like, we were all experiencing the same thing as individuals together.
Yeah.
And hearing these voices, realizing, once again, we're all individuals. Everybody has that unique experience of dealing with the human condition. Like, even the people who seem like they're sailing through life, they're not. No one is. And if they are, they're a robot or a space alien or a psychopath, because everybody struggles with the human condition, but we have so much media that enables people to present themselves as individuals who don't struggle with the human condition.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so nice being reminded of the decency and the humanity of strangers.
Completely. And that we are all in this together, and we are all feeling the pressure. We are all feeling the fear, and sharing what you do to stay sane and showing up for your community and sharing your art, and interacting with other people's art, I think is a kind of amazing thing about being a human.
And sharing the honesty and the vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, those are, and also the intelligence and the creativity, but really just people's willingness. People long to be honest. People long to be vulnerable. People long to be seen and heard. And it's just nice being reminded that at their core, the majority of people are really smart and decent.
I think so too.
So moving away from the very thoughtful, sweet, and earnest, can we go in a slightly more, not ridiculous, but a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Lighthearted.
Irreverent.
A little lighthearted, quasi, almost irreverence.
Yes.
So when we were thinking of doing this episode, you sang, I think, sotto voce. Is that a real expression? You basically just sang this line.
It was like a jingle.
A jingle about staying sane in the apocalypse.
I remember it now because I voice recorded it, and I was like trying to remember it the other day. It goes, "How to stay sane in the apocalypse," which I think may be me ripping off some other jingle from somewhere, but it really felt fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like a supermarket jingle.
Yeah.
So I took your vocal idea and then wrote a Euro disco song around it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wrote lyrics and vocal melodies, and you recorded your lyrics and vocal melodies, and we're going to play that song now of How to Stay Sane in the Apocalypse, as written by Lindsay, Moby, and Bagel. written and recorded in the course of about a day.
Mm-hmm.
So keep your expectations reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Yeah.
Reasonable to low.
So let's say goodbye now, and then we'll play the song.
Okay, it's a little outro song.
Yeah. So thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Bagel.
Thank you, Moby.
Thank you,
Erin.
Erin,
Thank you,
Jonathan Nesvadba. Thank you, Human Content. And thank you profoundly, earnestly, thank you to all of the people who called in and left messages. And it breaks my heart that we can't play all 5,000 to 10,000 messages. Boy, do I wish we could. And maybe we'll talk about some viable way of archiving them or making them available.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah. But in the meantime, while we're thinking of archiving and viability, let's play a Eurodisco song about staying sane in the apocalypse.
Amazing.
Not all right.